Welcome back, everyone, to the Rapid Chess Championship. This is the fourth round, and two Indians around 2.5 out of 3. Vidit and Raunak Sadhwani. Raunak, playing from Sharjah, hasn't had the best of tournaments going for him in Sharjah, but he has had a fantastic beginning in the Rapid Chess Championship. He has scored 2.5 out of 3 in a really strong field, consisting of all grandmasters, and now he's up against Vidit with the black pieces. This is going to be a cracker of a contest, an all-Indian derby. What are your thoughts, Chad? Is Vidit going to be a big favorite in this game? Is Raunak going to create problems for Vidit? In general, Vidit hasn't had a great score against the Indian juniors. The cream of the Indian juniors, consisting of Prag, Arjun, Nihal, Raunak, and Gukesh. Vidit didn't have a great outing against them in some of the past tournaments that he has played against them, and this by itself has wrecked his rapid and blitz rating in general. But Raunak is not one of those who has a positive score against Vidit, if I remember it right. So this is going to be a cracker of a contest, and Raunak has started with the King's Indian defense, which has turned into a Grunfeld. And this is one of the most solid openings that you can play with black pieces. Black doesn't have any weaknesses in his position. He has complete, like a seamless position with no weaknesses at all. Like imagine a skin with no spots or wrinkles. That's how nice black's pawn structure and position is in the symmetrical Grunfeld defense. It's not easy for white to create chances in this symmetrical Grunfeld in general, because the position is completely equal. And in general, in a lot of openings in chess, white usually has a bit of a slight advantage, but there are a few openings like the Berlin or the symmetrical Grunfeld where it's just completely equal with even chances. And Raunak has moved this pawn to a5 and a4 really nicely. So this bishop had this square on b3 from where he's attacking the queen. And if this queen goes to d1 back, then Raunak plays the bishop to b3. If the queen goes to d2, then he's obstructing his bishop from developing, and that will create problems in the future. And if the queen goes to c2, which is what Vidit has done, now here Raunak can either play the bishop to b3 or consider taking the d4 pawn, which shouldn't really be working. But yeah, bishop to b3. And Raunak has had this really solid start in this out of the opening in this game, and he's literally like asking Vidit, how are you going to even create a game? How are you even going to create some winning chances here? And Vidit replies with bringing his queen out to h4, creating threats like bishop h6, knight g5, which is not much of a tangible threat because black can easily defend with knight f6. And since he doesn't have any weaknesses on the king side, on his king side, everything is pretty much well protected for the moment. This is, I think, one of the openings where it becomes really. Oh, rook a5 is a really nice move from Raunak, by the way. Probably not what Vidit had foreseen, and now black is actually better in this game. The rook coming to a5 and potentially coming to h5, and it also feels like Raunak is really motivated to perform well in this tournament. And when someone is motivated, and when that person is one of these talented juniors, it's not going to be an easy game for anyone in the world. Vidit playing the most natural move is preventing this rook from coming onto h5 with g4, and bishop h6 is obviously a threat going into the game. White to have this black bishop on b3, because this also prevents white from playing this rook to d1, which is very important towards control of the center in general. So things are not going in Vidit's favor so far in this game. And it's also interesting to note that this is Vidit's third white game in 4 rounds. And this, of course, gives him a massive advantage in getting an early lead. But on the other hand, if this game doesn't go in Vidit's favor, then that creates a massive disadvantage. It goes the opposite way. So knight e4, knight to d6, and Raunak is playing really fast. He has a minute advantage on the clock, and he also has a nice position so far. So with this, fighting Vidit is on the back foot here. And this bishop on d5 completely controls this knight on d2. So the knight has no squares to go to, and black is taking more and more control of the game. And at some point, he'll be looking to open the position with e5. So his bishop can open up, and there's even more pressure on b2. So with it sacrifices a pawn with e4, more out of desperation rather than sacrifice. And the point now is, if black takes knight into e4, then white takes knight into e4, bishop into e4, and knight to g5. We can just have this on the board: knight into e4, knight into e4, bishop into e4, and knight to g5, attacking the bishop on e4 and the pawn on h7 simultaneously. And this wouldn't be great for black, but there is a better move for black after e4. There is a superior move, and that is bishop into e4. The point being that after knight g5, black can just take rook into g5, queen into g5, and this position is not great for white, because even though he has an extra rook, black has a knight, 2 pawns, and the pieces which are in the game right now, which are in the board, black's pieces are so much more active than white's. And for this reason, I think black is doing really well here. So knight to f3, this is the current position on the board. And whether it is fighting, he's trying to create some counterplay, but black's pieces are dominating. Black's pieces are going forward. This knight comes to d3. Really nice place for the knight. Although black has been doing really well in this game so far, there is, I think, still quite a bit of work to be done towards conversion. And the advantage for Ronak is that his moves are really easy to make because of how well his pieces are placed. And he's just going for this trade of white's bishop against black's knight, which looks a bit paradoxical in the beginning because this bishop was hardly in the game. This knight has moved so many times. But the point is, this bishop is was doing an important defensive function of controlling the f4 square. So with this bishop out, Ronak will just push through on the king side. And with these pawns on h3 and g4, which was done by Vidit much earlier, these dark squares have been fatally weakened, and black is just pushing on now. Queen a4 played by Vidit. He's not trading this dark square bishop, but queen d5 played by Ronak, piling on the pressure. And he can potentially get his knight to f4 with knight e6 in any case, which is what I expect to happen. Vedith is positioning this knight to g3, trying to bring in some defensive reinforcement, but Ronak knows clearly where his advantage lies on the king side, and he's tearing open the king side with h5. H into g4 incoming, or h4 is also an attractive option, and he goes for it. He goes for h4, takes even more squares away from white's pieces, completely crushing white, completely taking away control. Bishop g7 with the idea of f5. This has been a very powerful game by Ronak. Fast and deadly and accurate. Queen a7 played by Vidit, but he's not really creating much of a counterplay. He has a b7 pawn is attacked. That's like a mosquito. It only takes that much attention away from black, and black can even totally ignore it. Although in general, it's not a great idea to give any concessions to your opponent. So something like c5 here makes a lot of sense, defending the b7 pawn. You don't want to give even an inch to your opponent, because once you start giving those kind of concessions, it can become more. So he just defends it with queen d7, and the white's pieces are just not playing at all. Look at how these rooks are dominated. The b1 rook, the d1 rook, they just don't have any control over anything. The rook on b1 just controlling 2 squares, c1 and e1. This rook on d1 controlling e1, d2 and d3. Collectively, they control 5 squares. The knight on f1, it controls 3 squares out of a maximum of 8. And when you don't control much of the chessboard, you just don't have options. And now with f5, black opens up the g file. White will have to take gf, and this opens the g file. And then this pawn comes to f4, rook e6, rook g6, and all these different threats created, and Vidit has barely 2 minutes left, so he doesn't even have a lot of time, and only a miracle can save Vidit here. I didn't see a miracle happening because it looks like Ronek's internet is at full speed, and there's not going to be any disconnection as far as I can see. And this has been a really powerful performance by Ronak, so he will potentially go towards 3.5 out of 4. Yes, Ritvik, that was exactly what I was going towards with that little wordplay. With this form, what are your chances? What are your chances in the Olympiad? Again, guys, you can't read into Olympiad chances with the rapid time control performances. And once again, as I mentioned, it's a different ball game here, and people are not revealing all their ideas and secret preparation out here, so it requires incredible strength, and it's a very serious tournament with high prize money and high stakes. But in terms of something like the candidates or the Olympiad, it still is quite far away. King h2, rook d8. Now the threat is bishop e5 check, discovered attack, and black is also up by queen e5 check, game over, king g1, queen in d2, and with it probably resigns. What a powerful performance by Ronak there. This was an incredibly powerful game to beat with it with 4 minutes remaining, 4 minutes of his 10 minutes, and to play with such speed. This has been a brilliant performance.